We continue with our Holy Bible reading, part 40 of Deuteronomy, the Old Testament, and we go Deuteronomy chapter 2. The years in the desert. So we turned and journeyed on the desert road along the Red Sea, as the Lord spoke to me, and we encircled Mount Seir for many days. Then the Lord spoke to me, saying, Let your encircling of this mountain be sufficient, therefore turn northwards. Also command the people, saying, You are about to pass through the boundaries of your brethren, the sons of Esau, who live in Seir, and they will be afraid of you, and will be in exceedingly dread of you. Do not engage them in war, for I will not give you any of their land, no, not so much as one footstep, because I gave Mount Seir to the sons of Esau as an inheritance. You shall buy food from them with money, and that you may eat. And you shall also buy water by the measure from them with money, that you may drink. For the Lord your God blessed you in all the works of your hands. Consider how you crossed that great and fearful desert. Behold, these 40 years the Lord your God was with you, and you lacked nothing. Then we passed beyond our brethren, the sons of Esau, who dwell in Seir, along the road to the Arabah from Elath and Ezion-Geber, and we turned and passed along the desert road towards Moab. Then the Lord said to me, Do not be at the enmity with Moab, or wage war with them, for I will not give you any of their land as an inheritance, because I gave Ar to the sons of Lot to inherit. The Emim dwelt there in times past, as people as great as the numerous and strong as the Anakim. They were also regarded as Raphaim, like the Anakim, but the Moabites called them Emim. The Horite formerly dwelt in Seir, but the sons of Esau rooted them out and destroyed them from before their face, and dwelt in their place, in the manner Israel did in the land of their inheritance, which the Lord gave them. Now rise, break camp, and cross over the valley of Zered. So we crossed over the valley of Zered. So the days we took to come from Kadesh Barnea until we crossed over the valley of Zered were 38 years, until all the generations of the men of war died out of the camp, as the Lord swore to them. For the hand of the Lord was on them to destroy them out of the camp until they were consumed. So it was, when all the men of war died from the midst of the people, then the Lord spoke to me, saying, Today you shall pass by the borders of Moab at Seir, and you shall draw near the sons of Ammon, but do not be at enmity with them or wage war with them, for I will not give you any land of the sons of Ammon as an inheritance, because I gave it to the sons of Lot as an inheritance. Formerly it was also regarded as the land of the Raphaim, for the Raphaim dwelt there upon it, but the Ammonites called them Zumin, a people great and numerous and stronger than you, just as the Anakim. But the Lord destroyed them before their face, and they disposed them and dwelt in their place to this day, just as they did for the sons of Esau, who dwell in Seir, when they destroyed the Horites from before their face. They dispossessed them and dwelt in their place to this day. Also the Avim, who dwelt in villages as far as the Gaza, the Cappadocians, who came from Cappadocia, destroyed them and dwelt in their place. Now therefore rise, break camp, and travel along the Arnon valley. Behold, I give into your hands Shinon, the Amorite king of Heshbon, and his land. Enter your inheritance and engage him in war. On this day begin to put the dread and fear of you upon the face of all the nations under heaven, who when they hear the report of you, they will tremble and be in anguish because of your presence. Israel victorious over King Sihon. So I sent ambassadors from the Kedemoth desert to Sihon king of Heshbon with words of peace, saying, Let me pass through your land. I will keep strictly to the road, and I will turn neither to the right nor to the left. You shall sell me food for money, so I may eat, and sell me water for money, so I may drink. Only let me pass through on foot, just as the sons of Esau who dwelt in Seir, and the Moabites who dwelt in Ar did for me, until I cross the Jordan to the land of the Lord that the Lord our God is giving us. But Sihon, king of Heshbon, would not let us pass through, for the Lord our God hardened his spirit and made his heart stubborn, that he might deliver him into our hands as on this day. Then the Lord said to me, Behold, I have begun to give Sihon and his land over to you. Begin to inherit his land. So Sihon and all his people came out to engage us in war at Jahaz, but the Lord our God delivered him over to us. So we defeated him, his sons, and all his people. We conquered all his cities at that time, and we utterly destroyed every city one after the other. And we did not leave their women and children alive. We took only the cattle as plunder for ourselves, along with the spoil of the cities, and from Aroer on the banks of the Arnon River, and from the city in the ravine as far as the mountain of Gilead, there was not one city that escaped us. The Lord our God delivered them all into our hands. Only we did not go into the land of the sons of Ammon anywhere along the Jabbok River, or to the cities of the mountains as the Lord our God commanded us. Chapter 3, Deuteronomy. Israel defeats King Og. Then we turned and went up the road to Bashan, and Og, king of Bashan, came out against us, he and all his people, to battle at Edrei. And the Lord said to me, Do not fear him, for I delivered him and all his people and all his land into your hands. You shall do to him as you did to Sihon, king of the Amorites, who dwelt in Heshbon. So the Lord our God delivered Og, king of Bashan, into our hands, and all his people, and we struck him until none of his seed remained. Also, at that time we conquered all his cities. There was not a city we did not take from them, 60 cities, all the regions of Argob, and the kingdom of Og in Bashan. All these cities were fortified with high walls, gates, and bars, besides the great many cities of the Perizzites. We utterly destroyed them, as we did Sihon, king of Heshbon, utterly destroying every city, one after the other, and the women and children, but all the cattle and spoil of the cities we took as booty for ourselves. At that time we also took the land from the hands of the 2 kings of the Amorites beyond the Jordan, from the Arnon River to Mount Hermon. The Sidonians called Hermon Sirion, and the Amorites called it Senir. All the cities of the plain at Gilead and all Bashan as far as Salkach and Edrei, cities of the kingdom of Og in Bashan. For only Og, king of Bashan remained of the Rephaim. So he was a Nephilim. He was a tall, Nephilim. Indeed, his bedstead was an iron bedstead. Behold, it is in the citadel of the sons of Ammon, 9 cubits in its length. 9 by 50, that's about 9, is about 5 meters. That's about 15 feet in height. Its width, measured 9 cubits its length, 4 cubits its width, measured by the forearm of a man. The tribes east of the Jordan. So basically they were battling against giants, and they was. You can understand how impossible this was, and yet they, with the help of God, they were successful. The tribes east of the Jordan. So we inherited this land at the time from Aroer by the Arnon River, and half the mountain of Gilead, and I gave his cities to Reuben and Gad. The rest of Gilead and all Bashan, the kingdom of Og, I gave to the half-tribe of Manasseh. All the region of Argob, all that Bashan, will be reckoned as the land of the Rephaim. Jair, the son of Manasseh, took all the region of Argob, as far as the borders of Geshurites and the Mahathites, and called Bashan after his own name, Havoth Jair, to this day. Also I give Gilead to Mashir. Now up to Reuben and Gad I gave from Gilead as far as the Arnon River and the middle of the river as the border, and as far as the Jabbok River, the border of the sons of Ammon. And the Arabah and the Jordan are the border stretching from Mahanarath down to the sea of the Arabah, the salt sea, to Bisgah in the east. Then I commanded you at that time, saying, The Lord our God gave you this land as an inheritance. All you men of valor shall cross over armed before your brethren, the sons of Israel, but your wives, your children, and your cattle I know you have much cattle, will stay in the cities I gave you, until the Lord God gives you rest to your brethren as to you, and they also inherit the land the Lord our God is giving them beyond the Jordan. Then each may return to the inheritance I gave you. Moses cannot enter the land. Then I commanded Joshua at that time, saying, Your eyes saw all the Lord your God did to these two kings, so will the Lord our God do to all the kingdoms through which you pass. You must not fear them, for the Lord our God himself fights for you. Then I pleaded with the Lord at the time, saying, O Lord, you have begun to show your servant your strength and power, and your mighty hand and outstretched arm. For what God is there in heaven and or on earth who can do anything like your works and your mighty deeds? Let me cross over and see this good land, this good mountain, and Lebanon. But the Lord discarded me on your account and would not listen to me. So the Lord said to me, Enough of that. Speak no more to me of this matter. Go up to the top of the stony mountain and lift your eyes towards the sea, the north wind, the south wind, and the sunrise. Behold it with your eyes, for you will not cross over this Jordan. But command Joshua, strengthen him and encourage him, for he will go over before this people, and he will cause them to inherit the land you see. So we stayed in the valley opposite Beth Peor. Chapter 4. Moses urges Israel to obey. Now, O Israel, listen to the ordinances and judgments I teach you today to observe, that you may live and become numerous and inherit the land the Lord our God or our fathers is giving you. You shall not add to the word I command you, nor take from it, that you may keep the commandments of the Lord your God, and all that I command you today. Your eyes saw the things the Lord our God did at Baal Peor, for the Lord your God destroyed them among you, all the men who followed Baal of Peor. But you who held fast to the Lord your God are alive today, even every one of you. Surely I taught you ordinances and judgments as the Lord commanded me, that you should act according to them in the land you go to inherit. Therefore, be careful to observe them, for this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the Gentiles, who will hear all these ordinances say, Surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people. For what great nation is there that has God so near to it, as the Lord our God is to us, for whatever reason we may call upon him? Also, what great nation is there that has such ordinances and righteous judgments as are in all this law I set before you today? Only take heed to yourself and diligently guard your soul, lest you forget all the things your eyes saw, and lest they depart from your heart all the days of your life, and you shall teach them to your sons and the sons of your sons, especially concerning the day you stood before the Lord your God in Horeb in the day of assembly, when the Lord said to me, Gather the people to me and let them hear my words, so they may learn to fear me all the days they live on earth, and may teach their sons. Then you came near and stood to the foot of the mountains, and the mountain burned with fire at the midst of heaven, with darkness, gloom, storm, and a great voice. The Lord spoke to you from the midst of the fire. You heard the sound of the words, but saw no form. You only heard a voice. So he declared to you his covenant, the 10 Commandments, which he commanded you to perform, and he wrote them on 2 tablets of stone. Avoid idolatry. Then the Lord commanded me at that time to teach you ordinances and judgments, so you might observe them in the land you are crossing over to inherit. So be careful to guard your souls, for you saw no form when the Lord spoke to you at Horeb on the mountain from the midst of the fire. Do not act lawlessly and make for yourselves a carved form of any image, the likeness of male or female, the likeness of any cattle on the earth, or the likeness of any winged bird that flies under heaven, the likeness of anything that creeps on the ground, or the likeness of any fish in the waters beneath the earth. Also do not act lawlessly when you lift your eyes to heaven and see the sun, the moon, the stars, all the adornments of heaven, and you thus go astray and worship and serve them, which the Lord your God assigned to all the nations under heaven. But the Lord took you and brought you out of the iron furnace from Egypt, to be his people, an inheritance as you are this day. Furthermore, the Lord was angry with me about what you said, and I swore I would not cross over the Jordan and enter the land the Lord your God is giving you as an inheritance. But I am going to die in this land, thus I am not going to cross over this Jordan, but you will cross over and inherit this good land. Take heed to yourselves, lest you forget the covenant the Lord your God made with you, and make for yourselves a carved form of anything, concerning which the Lord your God forbade you. For the Lord your God is a consuming fire, a jealous God. If you beget sons and the sons of sons, and dwell a long time in the land, and act lawlessly, and make a carved image of any kind, and do evil in the sight of the Lord your God, to provoke him to anger, I call heaven and earth to witness to you today that you will be utterly destroyed from the land you are crossing over the Jordan to inherit. You will not live long in it, but you will be utterly annihilated. Then the Lord will scatter you among all the nations, and you will be left few in number among the nations where the Lord will bring you. There you will serve different gods, the works of men's hands, wood and stone, which neither see, hear, eat, nor smell. But from there you will seek the Lord your God, and you will find him when you seek him with all your heart and with all your soul in your tribulation. And all these words will find you at the end of days, when you turn to the Lord your God and obey his voice. For the Lord your God is a merciful God. He will not forsake you, nor annihilate you, nor forget the covenant of your fathers, which he swore to them. For ask now concerning former days, before your day in which God created man on the earth, and ask from one end of heaven to the other, whether any great thing like this has happened, or anything like this has been heard. Did any people ever hear the voice of the living God speaking from the midst of the fire, in the manner you heard and live? Or did God ever try to go and take for himself a nation from amidst other nations, and in testing signs, wonders, and war, and by a mighty hand and outstretched arm, and by great visions, according to all the Lord your God did for you in Egypt before your eyes? To you it was shown, that you might know the Lord your God is God. There is none other besides him. Out of heaven he let you hear his voice, that he might instruct you. And on earth he showed you his great fire, and you heard his words from the midst of the fire, because he loved your fathers. Therefore he chose you, their seed, after them, and he brought you out of Egypt with his great strength, destroying from before your face nations greater than mightier than you, to bring you in, to give you their land as an inheritance, as you have it today. Therefore know today, and bear in mind, the Lord your God, this God, is in heaven above, and on the earth beneath. There is no other beside him. And you shall therefore guard his ordinances and his commandments. I command you today, that it may be well with you and with your sons after you, and may prolong your days in the land the Lord your God is giving you to guard all the time. Cities of refuge. Then Moses set up 3 cities beyond the Jordan towards the rising of the sun, so the manslayer who kills his neighbor without foreknowledge, without hating him previously, might flee into these cities and live there: Bezer in the desert, in the plateau of Reuben, Ramoth in Gilead for Gad, and Golan in Bashan for Manasseh. The law of Moses. Now this is the law Moses set before the sons of Israel. These are the testimonies, the ordinances, and the judgments Moses spoke to the sons of Israel in the desert after they came out of Egypt, beyond the Jordan, in the valley near Beth Peor, in the land of Sihon, king of the Amorites, who dwelt in Heshbon, whom Moses and the children of Israel defeated after they came out of Egypt. So they inherited his land and the land of Og, king of Bashan, 2 kings of the Amorites beyond the Jordan towards the rising of the sun, from Aroer, which is on the bank of the Arnon River, even to Mount Sion, that is Mount Hermon, and all the Arabah beyond the Jordan towards the rising of the sun, below Ashedoth, hewn in the rock. Chapter 5. The 10 Commandments. Now Moses called all Israel and said to them, Hear, O Israel, the ordinances and the judgments I speak to you, to your hearing on this day, and you shall learn them and be careful to do them. The Lord our God made a covenant with you in Horeb. The Lord did not make his covenant with your fathers, but with you, all of you alive here today. The Lord spoke to you face to face on the mountain from the midst of the fire. I stood between the Lord and you at the time to declare to you the words of the Lord, for you were afraid because of the fire. You did not go up the mountain. And he said, I am the Lord your God, who brings you from the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. There shall be no different gods before my face. You shall not make for yourself an image, neither any likeness of anything in heaven above, or the earth beneath, or in the waters under the earth. You shall not bow down to them, nor serve them, because I am the Lord your God, a jealous God, repaying the sins of the fathers upon the children of the third and fourth generation of those who hate me, but showing mercy to thousands who love me and keep my commandments. You shall not take the name of the Lord your God in vain, for the Lord will not cleanse him who takes his name in vain. Observe the Sabbath day and keep it holy. As the Lord your God commanded you, 6 days you shall labor and do all your works, but on the seventh day is the Sabbath to the Lord your God. In it you shall do no work, you, your sons, and your daughter, your male servant, your female servant, your ox, your donkey, and all of your cattle, and your resident aliens dwelling among you, that your male servants and your female servants may rest as well as you. Remember, you are a servant to the land of Egypt, and the Lord your God brought you out from there by a mighty hand and by an outstretched arm. Therefore the Lord your God ordered you to guard the Sabbath day and to sanctify it. Honor your mother and your father and mother in the manner the Lord your God commanded you, that it might be well with you, and you may be a long time in the land the Lord your God is giving you. You shall not murder, you shall not commit adultery, you shall not steal. You shall not bear false witness against your neighbor. You shall not covet your neighbor's wife, and you shall not covet your neighbor's house, neither his field, his male servant, his female servant, his ox, his donkey, or his cattle, or anything belonging to your neighbor. The people fear God's presence. The Lord spoke these words to all your assembly in the mountain from the midst of the fire. There was darkness, gloom, storm, and a loud voice, and he added no more. Then he wrote them on 2 tablets of stone and gave them to me. So it was, when you heard the voice from the midst of the fire, while the mountain was burning with fire, you came near me, all the leaders of your tribes and your elders, and you said, Surely the Lord our God showed us his glory and his greatness, and we heard his voice from the midst of the fire. We saw this day that God speaks with man, yet he still lives. Now therefore let us not die, because this great fire will destroy us. And if we continue to hear the voice of the Lord our God any more, we shall die. For who of flesh heard the voice of the living God speaking from the midst of the fire, as we have, and lived? You go near and hear whatever the Lord our God may say, and tell us whatever the Lord our God says to you, and we will hear and do it. Then the Lord heard the voice of your words when you spoke to me, and the Lord said to me, I heard the voice of this people. Whatever words they spoke to you, they are right in whatever they said. Would they had such a heart in them, so as to fear me and guard my commandments all the time, that it might be well with them and their sons forever. Go and say to them, Return to your houses, but as for you, stand here by me, and I will speak to you all the commandments, the ordinances, and the judgments you are to teach them, so they may do them in the land I give them as an inheritance. Therefore you shall be careful to do in the manner the Lord your God commanded you. You shall not turn aside to the right hand or to the left. You shall walk in every way the Lord your God commanded you, that he may give you rest, and it be well with you, and you prolong your days in the land you are to inherit. And we continue now with the New Testament, John chapter 9. The man born blind sees. Now as Jesus passed by, he saw a man who was blind from birth. And his disciples asked him, saying, Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind? And Jesus answered, Neither this man nor his parents sinned, but that the works of God should be revealed in him. I must work the works of him who sent me while it is day. The night is coming when no one can work. As long as I am in the world, I am the light of the world. Then when he had said these things, he spat on the ground, made clay with the saliva, and he anointed the eyes of the blind man with the clay. And he said to him, Go wash in the pond of Siloam, which is translated sent, Shiloh, the pool of Shiloh. So he went and washed and came back seeing. Therefore the neighbors and those who previously had seen that he was blind said, Is this not he who sat and begged? Some said, This is he. Others said, He is like him. He said, I am he. Therefore they said to him, How were your eyes opened? He answered and said, A man called Jesus made clay and anointed my eyes and said to me, Go to the pool of Siloam and wash. So I went and washed, and I received sight. Then they said to him, Where is he? He said, I do not know. Those who see and those who do not see. They brought him who formerly was blind to the Pharisees. Now it was the Sabbath when Jesus made the clay and opened his eyes. Then the Pharisees also asked him again how he had received his sight, and he said to them, He put clay on my eyes, and I washed, and I see. Therefore some of the Pharisees said, This man is not from God, because he does not keep the Sabbath. Others said, How can a man who is a sinner do such things? And there was a division among them. They said to the blind man again, What do you say about him because he opened your eyes? He said, He is a prophet. And the Jews did not believe concerning him that he had been blind and received his sight until they called the parents of him who had received the sight. And they asked them, saying, Is this your son, who you say was born blind? How then does he now see? His parents answered them and said, We know that this is our son, and that he was born blind. But by what means he now sees we do not know, or who opened his eyes we do not know. He is of age, ask him, he will speak for himself. His parents said these things because they feared the Jews, for the Jews had agreed already that if anyone confessed that he was Christ, he would be put out of the synagogue, and therefore his parents said, He is of age, ask him. So they again called the man who was blind and said to him, Give God the glory, we know that this man is a sinner. He answered and said, Whether he is a sinner or not, I do not know. One thing I know, that I was blind and now I see. Then they said to him, What did he do to you? How did he open your eyes? He answered them, I told you already, and you do not listen. Why do you want to hear it again? Do you also want to become his disciples? Then they reviled him and said, You are his disciple, but we are Moses' disciples. We know that God spoke to Moses. As for this fellow, we do not know where he is from. The man answered and said to them, Why, this is a marvelous thing, that you do not know where he is from, yet he has opened my eyes. Now we know that God does not hear sinners, but if anyone is a worshipper of God and does his will, he hears him. Since the world began, it has been unheard of that anyone opened the eyes of one who was born blind. If this man were not from God, who could do anything? He could do anything. He could do nothing. This is what the blind man said to them. If this man was not from God, he could do nothing. They answered and said to him, You were completely born in sin, and are you teaching us? And they cast him out. Jesus heard that they had cast him out, and when he had found him, he said to him, Do you believe in the Son of God? He answered and said, Who is he, Lord, that I might believe in him? And Jesus said to him, You have both seen him, and it is he who is talking with you. And then he said, Lord, I believe. And he worshipped him. Then Jesus said, For judgment I have come into this world, that those who do not see may see, and that those who see may be made blind. Then some of the Pharisees who were with him heard these words and said to him, Are we blind also? Jesus said to them, If you were blind, you would have no sin. But now you say we see, therefore your sin remains. Chapter 10. Jesus the Good Shepherd. Most assuredly I say to you, he who does not enter the sheepfold by the door, but climbs up some other way, the same is a thief and a robber. But he who enters by the door is the shepherd of the sheep. To him the doorkeeper opens, and the sheep hear his voice, and he calls his own sheep by name and leads them out. And when he brings out his own sheep, he goes before them, and the sheep follow him, for they know his voice. Yet they will by no means follow a stranger, but will flee from him, for they do not know the voice of strangers. Jesus used this illustration, but they did not understand the things which he spoke to them. Jesus gives his life for the sheep. When Jesus said to them again, "Most assuredly I say to you, I am the door of the sheep. All who ever came before me are thieves and robbers, but the sheep did not hear them. I am the door. If anyone enters by me, he will be saved, and will go in and out and find pasture. The thief does not come except to steal and to kill and to destroy. I have come that they may have life, and that they may have it more abundantly. I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd gives his life for the sheep. But the hireling, he who is not the shepherd, one who does not own the sheep, sees the wolf coming and leaves the sheep and flees, and the wolf catches the sheep and scatters them. The hireling flees because he is a hireling and does not care about the sheep. I am the good shepherd, and I know my sheep, and am known by my own. As the Father knows me, even so I know the Father, and I lay down my life for the sheep. Another sheep I have which are not of this fold. Them also I must bring, and they will hear my voice, and there will be one flock and one shepherd. Therefore my Father loves me, because I lay down my life, and that I may take it up again. No one takes it from me, but I lay it down of myself. I have power to lay it down, and I have power to take it again. This command I have received from my Father." Therefore there was a division again among the Jews because of these sayings, and many of them said, "He has a demon and is mad. Why do you listen to him?" Others said, "These are not the words of one who has a demon. Can a demon open the eyes of the blind?" Jesus gives eternal life to the sheep. Now it was the feast of dedication in Jerusalem, and it was winter. And dedication means Hanukkah, dedication of the temple. And it was winter. And Jesus walked in the temple, in Solomon's porch. Then the Jews surrounded him and said to him, "How long do you keep us in doubt? If you are the Christ, tell us plainly." "I and my Father are one." Jesus answered them, "I told you, and you do not believe. The works that I do in my Father's name, they bear witness of me. But you do not believe, because you are not of my sheep, as I said to you. My sheep hear my voice, and I know them, and they follow me, and I give them eternal life, and they shall never perish, neither shall anyone snatch them out of my hand. My Father who has given them to me is greater than all, and no one is able to snatch them out of my Father's hand. I and my Father are one." Then the Jews took up stones again to stone him. Jesus answered them, "Many good works I have shown to you from my Father. For which of those works do you stone me?" The Jews answered him, saying, "For a good work we do not stone you, but for blasphemy, and because you being a man, make yourself God." Jesus answered them, "Is it not written in your law, I said you are gods? If he called them gods, to whom the word of God came, and the scriptures cannot be broken, do you say of him whom the Father sanctified and sent into the world, you are blaspheming, because I said I am the Son of God? If I do not do the works of my Father, do not believe me. But if I do, though you do not believe me, believe the works, that you may know and believe, that the Father is in me and I in him." Therefore they sought again to seize him, but he escaped out of their hands. And he went away again beyond the Jordan to the place where John the Baptist was baptizing at first, and then he stayed. There he stayed. And then many came to him and said, "John performed no sign, but all the things that John spoke about this man were true." And many believed in him there. And we'll continue with part 41 tomorrow. Thank you. God bless you. And thank you for your support. If you'd like to join me on my Patreon account, you will hear content not covered by mainstream media. These riveting stories will be based on my research, and I will state my opinions and give my personal insight on diverse and controversial subjects and world events not covered by mainstream media, and not supported by YouTube guidelines. So whatever I have on my Patreon, most of those will not be on my YouTube channel. Please consider becoming a member today. More of the most significant and important videos will be on my Patreon channel. Your support helps me to continue my research and keeps this YouTube channel alive. And we depend on your support, your generous charity, because we help economically challenged families here in Athens, Greece, in Kapota, and we also help the young generation with university tuition and the community around our church. Thank you.